Have you ever wondered what industries should use certain software? Well, here are some of my thoughts on which particular industries should and shouldn't use Notion. I'll also talk about some other software like ClickUp, Monday.com, Microsoft Suite, and Google, and also just give you some recommendations for other industries' software. Hey there, I'm Tess Connelly, and I help businesses who are feeling stuck to untangle their messy operations so that they can grow and scale effectively. Okay, so if you've watched any of my content by now, you should probably be aware that I love Notion. I'm a big user of Notion. It is basically my all-in-one hub for my business. I use it for pretty much everything that I can, but I am aware that Notion is not the best software for some particular industries, or just for some purposes. So there are several reasons for this. A couple that I would like to get into are the particular features of Notion and of certain software, UX and UI design, security, dynamic versus static content, and why I believe that storing everything in one platform, or at least as much as you possibly can in one platform, is better than having your business data stored across multiple platforms and a disjointed tech stack. Okay, so which industries should or shouldn't use Notion? Let me start by telling you which industries shouldn't. And the main ones that I would say are any businesses that are dealing with highly confidential information and data. For example, highly confidential legal contracts, perhaps insurance policies, or any particular information that should be encrypted. One of the first reasons for this is the particular security that is offered by the platform. Now, I must preface that I am not an IT specialist or an expert, but I do have a little bit of an understanding around security for software platforms, as you should, being a business consultant. So pretty much any software that you are using should have a privacy policy or privacy guidelines. If you are based in Europe, you would have the GDPR, which is General Data Protection Regulation, and this is basically a form of a privacy act. And if you're in the US, you actually don't have any national data protection law, fun fact, but you do have a variety of other smaller laws that kind of put together will give you privacy and security. So every platform that you're using, whether it's Notion, Google Drive, ClickUp, Dropbox, Microsoft Suite, all the above should have or should comply with a Privacy Act, which will keep your data safe. However, if you are dealing with highly confidential information that you need to make sure is particularly safe, you might need end-to-end encryption. Now, end-to-end encryption is extra secure. It basically means that the person sending the information and the person receiving the information are the only two that can see that particular data. So it's encrypted by the sender and it's decrypted by the receiver. So something like a platform like WhatsApp will be an end-to-end encryption platform. If your software doesn't have end-to-end encryption, it should have enough security to keep data private. Some platforms may even offer encryption at certain times. So for example, when the data is at rest in the system or in transit, so when it's being stored into the system, but a lot of platforms don't offer end-to-end. So while they may be protected from third party, that particular app and organization may at some point technically be able to access your data. Now, there's no need to freak out, as most platforms are, as I said, governed by a Privacy Act and have enough data security to keep them safe. But this is just something to keep in mind if you do need to store highly confidential information. So, reason I say that is because Notion is not end-to-end encrypted. So I would not recommend using this to store your data if you are in a legal firm or insurance or any other similar industry. Who I do recommend Notion for is anyone in creative industries, in agencies, and any other professional service-based industries that don't necessarily need full end-to-end encryption. Now, of course, you can use other software like ClickUp, Monday, Asana, Microsoft Suite, you name it. But that does lead me into something else I would like to talk about, which is UI, UX, user interface, user experience. So this is just my personal opinion, but I do think that many programs need a big update. I'm not sure if you would agree with me, but I can think of several software that are highly popular and extremely clunky. And I know countless people who use these platforms every single day in their jobs and are highly frustrated. Now, part of the frustration comes down to poor systems, but also part of their frustration comes down to terrible UI UX. So when you are looking for a good software to use for your system, especially if you have employees and it's more than just you in your business, I do think that it is very important to choose platforms and choose your tech stack that is highly intuitive, easy to use, easy to learn, and easy to get used to. Now, I will say this about Notion. Notion starts as basically a blank page. And the idea is that you have all these different building blocks that you can use to build your perfect workspace, build your perfect digital workspace, and create something that is really tailor-made for you and your team and how you work. Now, Notion is still technically young in the SaaS game, but I do think they are nailing several things on the head. That being said, with something like Notion, unless you're using templates, you will need to build out your entire workspace. Now, you could hire someone like me to build it for you, but if you are happy with built-out platforms that have a specific way of doing things, that have boundaries, you might prefer a platform more like ClickUp, Monday.com, Asana, or even Trello. But please don't use Trello. However, if you are anything like me and you've been constantly frustrated by every single platform and software that you have tried, let me say this from my perspective. I have been, until I used Notion, I was frustrated with every single platform that I had tried to use. Now, I don't know if this is because my brain works in a particular way, but I would constantly find myself thinking, I wish you could just move this here. I wish you could just do that. I wish that would just allow me to sort of, create this in this way. And I could never make my information and my data work for me in the way that I wanted it to, in a way that would be efficient and helpful for me and for my business. So, fun fact, before I discovered Notion, I literally had a dream to one day create a SaaS platform, a program, software that would actually allow me to create systems and the software that I wanted. I was like, you know what? These ones aren't working for me, so I'm just gonna create my own. And then Notion came in. Praise God. Now look, I'm loving Notion. We'll see where it goes. If it doesn't work, I might create my own platform. I'll let you know. But all that to say that part of the reason why I use Notion is because I can create my workspace exactly the way that I want it to. It has truly become my all-in-one hub where I can house pretty much all of my data for my business. I can house proposals, client hubs, contracts, to-dos, notes, meeting documents, goals, finances, SOPs, content calendar, CRM, pretty much everything I need. Also connected to Notion is Notion Calendar, which you've probably heard me talk about before. And this, for me, has been a perfect replacement on Apple Calendar and Google Calendar, and it totally connects to my Notion workspace. It's also been a replacement for apps like Calendly, where I need to give scheduling links. And at some point this year, guys, I love Notion. At some point this year, Notion are bringing out their third app. So they've got Notion, Notion Calendar. Their third app is coming out, which is Notion Mail. This is incredibly exciting. It is a new email app that I believe links to Gmail. I'm not entirely sure how that works just yet, but it is a new email app that will be able to connect and link to your Notion and to your Notion calendar. So it's basically email redesigned for a modern way of working, which ties in because I forgot I was actually talking about UX and UI. And from what I can see and from the demos that I have seen that Notion have put up, I believe that Notion Mail will be a far better UX UI than other email providers. And it links to my whole other Notion workspace and my whole business on Notion. Okay, so why do I think that putting everything in one place is better than having your business data stored across different software and platforms and tech stack? For one thing, we lose so much time jumping between different apps. Now, I know it might not seem like much at the time, but it does truly add up. As soon as you have to jump to another platform and find your way around another platform, it's very easy to lose focus and get out of the flow. On a new platform, you've likely got different ways of storing your data. You might have a different folder structure, different naming conventions, different UX UI. Perhaps this one is connected to this app and this one's not connected to that app. So you do waste a lot of time. Also, having everything in one app means that you are spending so much less money, particularly if you have a team and you are paying for SaaS platforms per seat or per member. If you've got a to-do software platform over here and you've got something else that could potentially be used as a to-do system over here, but you're not using it in that way and you're paying for both, you're probably paying double the amount that you could be paying. I also think that if you have everything in one platform, you can actually use your data and see your data in a far more innovative way. Innovative? You get the point. And that leads me to the last thing that I want to talk about, which is dynamic versus static content. And this is something that I believe that Notion does really well. So for this example, I would like to compare Google Docs and Google Sheets, or you can think about Excel and Microsoft Word, compared with Notion. So think about how a Google Doc, for example, is stored. You've got your Google Drive, you've got folders, and then you've got one particular doc that sits as a document in that folder. Now, if you are using Google Drive as your main system for storing all of your business data, then your Google Docs could be brain dumps, they could be meeting notes, they could be documents, they could be to-do lists. Who knows what you've got going on in there. Now that is what I call a static document or static data. So it sits there, you have to click through the folders, click into the document, and once you're in the document, that text is all that you have. However, in Notion, if you create a new page and you put the same text that you had in your Google Doc into your Notion page, you can now use this content dynamically. So you could add this page into a database. Think of a database like a Excel spreadsheet. You could create it as a template. You could tag it with a bunch of different properties from date to a person who it's assigned to. You could label it. You could give it a checkbox so that you could mark it as complete and create a whole archive system. You could actually link that document to another document, easily reference documents or other Notion pages within that document. You can embed other data. So you could embed a database from somewhere else in your Notion workspace. You could embed a calendar, embed flowcharts, PDFs, zip files, literally whatever you want. So now your data or your information is not just a static one-time use, maybe you view it, you read it, done, document. But you can actually interact with that information, interact with that data in literally countless, endless ways. So those are some reasons why I love Notion and the particular features that I think are really important when you're choosing a particular platform or software. Hope that helps. Enjoy your day. See you soon.